Okay, recording's in progress.
Derek, you've
Hello?
actually skipped Treasurer's report.
Oh my goodness. My eyes are not wanting to focus on Treasurer's report. Beg your pardon.
Yeah, there's too
All
many
right.
of us.
Financial reports for meeting. Do you want to start with this one, the summary?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything that needs to be explained there, except that I did put on the next to the income statement, I put the breakdown of the expenses for NLC, so it's quite clear to see. But I don't think there's anything needs to be explained there. Anybody has any questions, I can answer it.
Well, there's a bit of money left there. Is that going to be spent still, or is that just sort of left over?
Well, there's not very much left over. Let me just get that out.
2,174.
Yes, but then we have still spent something of that. Since that, there was 1,000. Did I not have that?
1,790.
Yeah, expenses due. That's right. So there's a little bit left over still, but
Well, there's
I'm not
left, that's all.
Yeah, there'll be the odd bits and pieces, but virtually everything spent. I don't think Pierre has anything extra that he has in mind to spend it on, but there will be the final bank charges. However, they don't have any charge to close the account, as Pierre thought that they would, but there's no charge. I checked that with standard.
All right.
Do you want to go on to the balance sheet and income statement?
Okay, you want balance sheet first?
Yeah, okay. The figure on the standard bank account obviously ties up with what's on the report that we just read, just looked at. And that's quite straightforward. So the amount that we have for funds of HAC is 5374594, the red figure at the bottom here. So, you know, everything's going according to plan.
Shouldn't it be in black if it's positive? I don't like Rand's figures in red.
Yeah, I did put it in green one time. Perhaps we could change it to green, because green's a good color.
Yeah, green is good.
Okay, maybe I will change to that. Right.
Okay, income statement.
Right. You'll see here on the right at the bottom, there's the January expense, and then what we spent in February, which was bank charges plus the figure for Dowd's extra tablets and things that got to go on the tablet at Gearing's Point, plus the Swallow Park sundial things. So January and February is the total there, and then that agrees with the total of under AECA stroke GPAED in the February column, just alongside. I put asterisks on just to make it easier to see. Right, then there's one odd thing. You'll see here that I put in club equipment below education outreach. In actual fact, if you look at December 22, there's 220 Rand, and that was originally for general expenses. But I changed the general expenses ledger account to club equipment because I didn't want to make it an asset. So what I must actually do then is add that line in again for general expenses, and just put that opposite the 220 Rand, and then move the club equipment one down, which will then have the 3,500 and 3,700. That's just something which I didn't want to put it under assets, because you might remember that when Brian Kane was doing our auditing, he insisted that we must depreciate the Wortelgat telescope, which to me is of no consequence, because we don't have expenses that we have to minimize our tax, or expenses to increase to minimize our tax. So I've actually just, and there again, we're not showing it on the balance sheet. It's just a one-off expense.
So there's a 3.5 in January and a 3.7 in February. The 3.7 was the tripod.
3.5 plus the 200 Rand for the courier cost, which, although I paid it at night of the last day of the month, it only reflected in the next month. So that's why it came through in March and February instead of January. So that's the total, you know. January gets February expenses added onto it. So it's not that expense in January plus that expense in February. Does that make sense?
I must admit, it doesn't quite make sense to me. If I see the same figure twice in two different months, to me it means that was spent in January and spent again in February. So I don't
the income statement
follow this.
Follows on. It just gets added on every month till the end of the year.
So it's a running total for the year.
That's right.
All right.
And we just leave it in on the income statement, so one can just compare it with the previous month. It's just like you can see there in the top expense for venue hire. There was nothing in January, but that 1260 was spent in February. So as I say, it just gets carried forward every month.
But then other figures aren't. I mean, look at some of the figures under December, cost of Sky Guides, that's only in December, and it doesn't get carried forward.
No, December is the end of the year, the end of the financial year.
So we start again in January.
That's right.
All right.
Is that as clear?
You've got to have patience with me.
Not a problem. Is that as clear as mud to everybody?
Nobody's asking questions. I think I'm being silly, but anyway.
Okay.
All right. Anything? Okay.
Yeah. Should I move on then, or do you want to look at something back again?
Are we finished with the income statement, or are we done?
Yeah, we're finished with the income statement. I don't think there's anything there that needs to be clarified. But what I do need to talk about is Pierre's suggestion or whatever for taking the surplus funds from the Plus plan and investing in a fixed deposit. I have got that sorted out now. So a business fixed deposit of 10,000 to 99,000 for 12 months earns an interest of 8.15%, which is paid at maturity. If one takes it monthly, then it drops down to 7.85%, which is obviously. There's a bit of noise in the background now, Derek.
Yeah, Peter, what is that your noise there? Because it's quite loud now.
Okay, all right, I'll sort out.
I'll wait for Peter to come back.
He's gone.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, that's better, huh?
Much better.
Yes, thank you, Peter. So the difference between the monthly and annual is because if you take that amount out every month, the amount doesn't increase. But if you leave it there, then at the end of the 12 months, you've got 8.15% instead of 7.85. I'm sure you must all know that from investing in different things. Yeah.
If we need some of that money, when can we, how long does it take to get hold of it?
Only at the end of the year, otherwise there is a fee if you draw it before you've said that you know, if you've invested for 12 months, if you want to draw it before that, then there's a penalty one pays.
Okay, we just got to make sure that there aren't expenses that we want to cover from that money during the year. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
it's all very well putting it in fixed investment, but if we, I mean, it's there to be used by the club.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's for Pierre and everybody else to decide on what is the figure that should be left in the plus plan. So, okay.
So we in other words, what we need to do an annual budget, an expense budget before we can take a decision.
Yes, yes, that would be the logical way to do it. From what I understand, the rates have peaked at this stage. So in reinvesting on maturity could be at a lower interest rate. But as I say, you know, if you've invested for 12 months, that's the rate you will get for that 12 months. Right.
The must get to 8%, but we just need to make sure that we don't need some of that money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it obviously is not going to pay to put too much in and then you're left with expenses that you need to cover. The business plus plan interest, if your balance is above 20,000 Rand, you get about 1% monthly admin charge. Sorry. No, you save the admin charge if your balance is 15,000 or more. But if your balance is under 15,000, then there's a 23 Rand a month admin charge, and each payment, EFT, whatever, is at 7.95 Rand this year. But yeah, so but that still works out to a lot less than the interest on the fixed deposit. It works out to something like 1% per month. And then if we keep to refunding Peter and yourself, Derek, for your Peter's insurance cost and your Zoom cost, we would, if we do it every second month, as I have been doing, you'll save 15.90 Rand will be saved 6 times over the year, which would be a saving for the year of 95.40 Rand. So, you know, if it's all right with you guys, when Elaine takes over, then she can carry on doing it every second month, if you're happy with that.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Can I ask Laura, yourself and Elaine to do a draft budget for the year of expenses that you know would need to be spent in, and then we circulate that to the committee, and everybody says yes, but what about this, and then other things like, you know, what was that money intended for? Some of it was sort of pledged for repairs of the planet display and things like that.
Yeah, no, that
and what are the expected repair costs going to be on those things and so on? So, and you know, so let Pierre have his say and so on, and then we decide what we can, after all that exercise, what we could then put in a fixed deposit.
Yeah.
Just
Sorry, if I could just
go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the penalty, Laura will know this, the penalty for withdrawing that money early is quite hefty.
Yes, so we must be careful that we don't need to do that.
Mm.
Right. The figure that you, or the donation that you mentioned, Derek, for the repair of the solar system, That was the R1,000 which Piers Hugo donated, and that has already been spent.
Okay, but a lot of
Because,
that money, isn't that from pledges and so on? Which was intended for observatory and so on?
No, that's those pledges have long gone. They've long ago been used up, actually.
So that balance is straight club funds. There's
Yes.
nothing that it's sort of ring fence for or anything like that.
No, not at this stage, no.
Okay, I was under the impression that it was.
We're just thinking back. There was money which the hikers gave when there was a stargazing event. I would have to just check on that.
So
I
that's why I
can't
say,
remember.
do the budget of the essential expenses, and then let's circulate it to the committee,
Yeah.
and if people like Pierre have their comment and say, yes, but this has got to be spent on that and so on. And then we see where we end up before the next meeting.
Okay,
Can we do that?
right. Elaine and I will have to spend some time with our
Sorry
heads
to give you
together.
some homework, but I mean, just the things that you know and you're sure of, just a simple list.
Yeah,
Okay, Laura, so we'll just get together on that. We can have some coffee.
yeah, sure. Okay then. Right, that's it from me. Yeah. Oh yes, so the bottom line, as you can see, I didn't mention earlier, but as you can see, for this, the running total for this year so far, then we have a minus figure of 2128.39. But that's mainly from last month. It's the cost of hiring the Sansa auditorium.
Okay, well, if it's negative, it should be in red, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, yes, well, okay, we shall do that in future, not to confuse anybody. Right,
Thanks.
so
Laura.
then should we leave the minus sign off of it then?
No. It's fine to have the minus, but if it's in red, it just emphasizes that it's negative.
Okay, perfect. Right, that's me then. Thank you.
Thanks
And
very
there's
much,
some-
Laura. Anybody else got questions there or suggestions? All right, no questions, so it must be very clear and very straightforward to everybody. Thanks very much, Laura.
Okay,
Probably
No
the most
problem.
important section actually of our agenda.
yeah,
All right, the next most important one. I think GPA, DP is not here, and I've just mentioned that he's got the stuff for Swallow Park. Then outreach, Mick, is there any activity there yet? Besides, are you doing weekly tours yet? Or?
Yeah, the most important section of the agenda.
Yes.
Finance is just the most important. This is the most important. There's two other things on finance there, I think, that we could consider if we do have to do anything this year. It would be to either increase membership or more fee generating tours and things that might get something coming in. So, one of the options always is to go for the sales income side of the trick and find out why our membership is in a sort of decline phase and what sort of things might excite new members or existing and so on. So maybe we need to focus there a bit. On the outreach side, no, it's I'm afraid with Piers' risk going down, I'm afraid a lot of outreach activities like putting out telescopes for sunspots or the various, even driving a motor car, I think is limiting the amount of activity. But there are, I think you would have seen that he's written to Wendy regards a presentation that we're doing later in the year for a group. And I'm just thinking, like, even in that, they come and arrive at a breakfast. It's during the school holiday, so they come and they have a breakfast, which I think they've supplied, and then we do half an hour at the tourist center, and then again down to the solar planet and to the GPAD. But we're supplying Cokes somewhere along there, so there are kind of little costs that I'm not sure where Pierre was seeing that coming from, but those are the sort of things, I guess, if we haven't got anything in the kitty, we must just be aware that we either have to donate to do it or else not do it. I was expecting today at my 11 o'clock meeting to be seeing the lady who does the whale, I think it's the Whale Coast or the whale season program, and she was going to come. She was at the it wasn't the AGM, it was the other meeting we attended at Sansa where they invited us, and she didn't arrive today. I don't know whether it was the weather or whether she forgot or whatever, but I'm afraid that I was hoping that might be something that was firming up as well. But otherwise, it's pretty much as we reported at the AGM and last year. It's still mainly Lekanya. We've got a date for the Generations School on the 21st of April, I think it is, that we're going to be doing sunspots and explaining to them the sundial and so on. So that's next month, not this month at this stage. So pretty much the same. I think that's about it from my side.
Okay, great.
Sorry, could I just say, I just wanted to ask Mick something. May I?
Go ahead.
There we go. Mick, I was just wondering, I drew up that interesting facts about the planets, and then also a worksheet on the first 5 planets and the sun and the moon. And I got a nice note of thanks for you, but got nothing, no return from Pierre. And so I'm not quite sure if it was of any value, if it hit the right target, if it was completely wrong, or too high, too low, too whatever. I was just wondering, was it at all of use? Could you use it?
Absolutely, and thank you for reminding me. I think we discussed at the meeting when you actually did the proposal that it was quite dependent on who your audience was as you develop those fact sheets, and we haven't yet had to target it at a specific audience. So both documents that you drew up very much appreciated, but I haven't spoken to Pierre about it. We really haven't met about it since we actually met. But I think it would certainly be the other thing that Pierre also drew up was a one-pager of the planet tour, so that rather than having that booklet, which they sometimes get in the wrong order when they do the photostating, so you end up with all the stars in the wrong places. He reduced that to a one-pager with the notes on the opposite side. That, again, this morning I noticed wasn't yet available at the tourism center, but I think that's, it would really just require them to print off some copies much the same way as those other ones are there. So yeah, it's certainly not that it doesn't hit the spot. We're just not sure what the spot is at this stage. So we've got to keep on deciding who the audience is. And
try.
So I'm sorry if that's been a bit slack.
Okay, thanks very much, Mick. Keep up the good work. Excellent stuff you're doing there. And very, very important, as you say. It is actually, we joke, but it is one of the most important aspects of our activity. Okay, can we go ahead with calendars then?
Yes, okay. From my side, the calendar for monthly meetings is going quite well this year. We've already started with one speaker and we had our AGM. However, our next speaker that was scheduled for later this month on the 20th, Professor from the University of the Free State in Bloemfontein, informed me that he is going to have a back operation on that day. So he's completely unavailable for that specific date. So what I did was I swapped dates with him and bringing my own presentation a bit forward a month, so that he is now scheduled for the 17th of April. So that is as far as the meetings concerned. I think everything is sewn up and should proceed according to the plan. But if somebody might withdraw on a very short notice, then I think we might have a bit of a problem, because I don't have any backups on short notice at this stage. So let's hope and see and wish for the best.
Who was that you swapped with?
Professor Piet Meintjes from the University of the Free State. He was originally scheduled for.
Okay, so he's going to go in April.
He's now going in April. That was where I was scheduled for, and
Okay.
then I just.
And he's okay. His back will be okay by then.
Yes, he said to me that he should be okay at that stage. So let's hope and see what's the outcome. But I am quite sure that he wouldn't commit to it if he's doesn't feel well to do it. So let's see what is happening in the meantime.
Sometimes these hospitals can mess you up more than they fix you.
That's correct. And it's almost like going to a vet instead of. The AGM, I think, is for the next item on the agenda. So I don't know whether people want to discuss it or what. That is, as far as I'm concerned, from my side, as far as the monthly meetings for this year. It's going well. Thank you.
Could I just chip in there, Derek?
Yeah, go ahead.
I seem to remember Jenny saying that she could have something that she could fill in for at some stage. So if that could be checked with.
Okay, that's great to hear. Then I know Jenny, and I will just, if there's a shortfall at one stage, then I will have as a backup for a speaker to stand in if somebody falls ill or whatever happens.
Great.
Okay. Peter, sorry, what did you say about AGM?
No, I think it's scheduled for the next item on the agenda. So I don't want to,
Okay.
I don't people want to discuss it or whatever, but that was also something that took place a short while ago.
Yeah. I just want to, get people's opinion on what think of the venue and how do we objectively decide was it a success and so on. But for the moment, is that what we've got our speakers?
Yes, that's all from our side on at this moment in time.
Looks like quite a fascinating program coming up during the year. So looking forward to all these people. All right.
Indeed. Derek, I think the chap who spoke about the black hole in the middle of the photos that he'd taken of the black hole in the Milky Way was fixing up the Johannesburg Planetarium, that there was a huge new whatever the development was in that he was happy to talk to us about once it was out in the press, as it were. And also said that he does holiday down here and was happy to join a group or have a chat when he's here. It might just be, I'm not sure if we're in touch with that speaker.
All right. So, all right, let's, if he wants to have a physical meeting, maybe that's, I definitely think we must have more meetings at Sansa or a venue, with people. But anyway, let's get to that when we get to that in the agenda. Okay, well, that is next meetings, cosmology, monthly study group and so on. All right, well, are we done with calendar now? Any other comments?
There's just a couple of changes on there. The cosmology, I'm sure you all know, as we couldn't do it on the Monday night, the 6th, so it's next Monday, the 13th. There's also a couple of other red marks on the column on the right. If you look at that calendar, where, also with red numbers there, which could give us problems, but I'm sure we can probably deal with those as we come to them later in the year. There's a what's that one? Cosmology, no, it's 6th of February. The study group is the first, at least on the 24th of April. That's going to have to change, I think. So the study group, we might have to move to another day rather than a Monday, because we've run out of Mondays. And then further down on the calendar, also that one, the August one still exists as a bit of a problem for the
Peter,
monthly meeting.
Peter, just hold on. The 24th of April, why is that a problem?
24th of April, yeah, it's a
Load shedding.
load shedding stage 1, yeah.
Oh,
This is what I'm referring to, that the column on the right is load shedding.
okay.
And I've marked in red the ones that are likely to be problem ones. You know, 7s and 8s and crosses are not problem ones. 6, I suppose, could be, that's the HACC meeting. But further, the next page, can we just go to the next page, please? Yeah, there's that. Cosmology on the 6th of June, 5th of June, we've got the same problem again. In that case, it might be worthwhile, if we're not going to do astrophotography, to again move the cosmology to the 12th. I just feel that it's better to change as early as possible, the calendar schedule as early as possible. And this is what I was actually talking with Peter with a while back. The monthly meeting on the 21st of August is number 2. It's a stage 2. And as Peter said, quite reasonably, the presenter, say Professor Dutoy Strauss, might you know, if we move it, we might go to a night where he is affected by the
So I think that's a critically important one to try and reschedule.
Yes,
Because,
and
you know,
I'm just wondering if we
don't have a lot of other free times when they can just swap. And
would it be worthwhile negotiating? I'm asking Peter here. Would it be worthwhile just negotiating with Professor Strauss another day for that one? Because I think that one looks as though it's going to be messed up.
let's try and give him priority.
Yes.
For one of the other available dates, and then rather try and sort out the other ones that are compromised after he sorted out.
Yes, but he also indicated to me that he preferred to speak in the second half of the year, because the first half of the year is bound by a lot of teaching responsibilities at Potchefstroom. So that's why I'm scheduling him for the second half of the year. So I'll have to find a slot somewhere, August, September, or October, or whatever, for him to, if that is not available. But
Yeah, but can we not swap him for another day in the month, which, you know, like 14th of August astrophotography, if that suits him?
Yes, I can. If you give me a fixed date that I can negotiate with, then I can do that. So if those are the dates that I have available, then I can try and see what I can do and ask him whether he would be available for either the 14th or the 28th or whatever.
Well, I mean, it's the August monthly meeting, so if we can fit him in sometime in August, that would be ideal.
Okay, let's see.
It looks as though it could make sense to go to the 14th of August, but obviously he and we would like to know at this stage and ahead of time. I think if we can negotiate that, Peter, maybe it would help both sides.
Yes. But if you plan around load shedding, that's also a very dangerous thing to do because we don't know what's going to happen with ESCOM later this year or even on a short notice, because the synopsis at this moment is not very positive and rosy for
Yes, I absolutely
just-
agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it's actually a futile exercise to swap him around. Then all of a sudden we end up with load shedding stage 10 or whatever, and then we're stuck.
But I mean, if we get that, there's nothing we can do about it. But I mean, their
Yes.
load shedding is one thing about ESCOM is their load shedding schedules are actually quite rigid. That's why Peter's able to sort of go through the whole year, because
Yeah.
if we're
You
going to
can,
have,
you can even look next year, it'll still work.
I think there's not a big problem with Professor Strauss because he's at the university and they have emergency power running almost 24 hours a day. So he can just talk from his office and then it shouldn't be a problem.
no, I think the problem is the membership, you know, the audience
Yeah. Yeah.
don't have backups. So if we can try and
Okay.
accommodate him on a day when the audience is likely to not have load shedding, that'd be better. And
Okay,
it looks like the 14th, even if
the
there
four-
is load shedding, it wouldn't be at that time.
Okay. I'll talk to him and see if he's available for the 14th.
Well, it wouldn't be at that time for our minus, put it that way. The problem is other
Yeah.
people from other times.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, thanks, Peter. It's rather complicated, but let's see what we can work out.
Yeah, we're living in interesting times.
Yeah,
It could have been worse.
I've got backup, so I'm okay, but that doesn't help if nobody else has.
No.
All right. Is that it then, Peter? Is there anything to add to that?
No, that's all from my side.
Thanks. Okay, then meetings, cosmology and so on. Is there anything to say on the other meetings then, Peter Harvey? So cosmology, we have cancelled a couple, one or two already, so we don't really want to cancel anymore. We're going to end up having none. So we want to try and have the cosmology.
Cosmology is quite important because, I mean, we get a pretty good turnout for cosmology.
Yeah, from all over the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try and stick to that one for the 13th.
I think it should be all right. That one, the 13th is okay.
Astrophotography. We just don't ever seem to get to astrophotography meetings, but there's a lot of new software coming out, which is very, very nice, which I think I'm going to start looking at in one of the sessions. And then the monthly meeting is Peter, so that's all sorted out. Study group. Can we then discuss when are we going to talk about using the Sanso venue? Is there any conclusions we can come to whether it was a useful exercise or not?
Use of what? Sorry?
Using the Sanso venue, the physical venue.
A sense of venue.
Was that a
Look, I
worthwhile
mean, if
exercise, spending the money on that, or
yeah,
I
if
mean,
the
how
money
can we
allows
objectively judge that?
that'd be nice. Yeah.
Sorry?
I say if the money allows it, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but you know what? Do you think it was successful or useful to have a physical meeting there? Do you think it was a benefit?
Did
Yeah, I
I
think
ch- Sorry,
Sorry,
did
yeah.
I chip in?
Yeah, have you say, Laura?
For the expense, I don't think we could cover it. You know, we'd have to charge members like 50 Rand an evening. And that's, I don't think people would come for that. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I
Plus
think
the
that,
fact, of course, that we really must consider a hybrid meeting because quite a few people are not going to come through to the meeting, but would otherwise join the meeting if it is if it's a virtual.
yeah, I mean, that's easy to do at Sansa because they have transmission to YouTube and people can just log on to YouTube. My problem was then that if we did that for the AGM, then nobody would physically come to the AGM.
Yeah.
So maybe for a monthly meeting, it might make more sense, you know, for a speaker.
But then they're not going to pay for that. If they're
Yeah,
on
and then
Zoom.
also the staff there, we're talking about maybe there are other alternatives we can work out with Sansa. So we must work on that. Peter, the IT guy was saying that maybe there's something else we can work out. I don't know if you want to talk to them. You know the people well. For the maybe using the old venue for a cheaper rate, or even there are apparently other boardrooms where we could have a small meeting with a smaller number of people, which they could let us have for much cheaper, if there's any possibilities like that.
Yeah, but then we're running into the same problem as before, because that becomes then a security and lockup problem. And that was in the main building. I have my doubts whether we will be able to do that. The only thing is the new auditorium, because that is 24/7, it's open. And if you go to the other venue, the boardroom or the conference room in the main building, there's lockup problems with and that was the main reason why Sansa was reluctant to renew and open up the venue for outsiders. And I think try it, but I have serious doubts whether that will come off, because the people who had to lock up was not very happy to stay after hours and to see that everything was under control. And I think they will have the same objectives or negative towards that sort of. So we can try.
That must be the reason why in their protocol they said that those venues are not available in the evening.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is the problem in the evening, and they. That's why I first tried to get the new auditorium and 24/7 building, and the other ones are. And all kinds of security issues around it. And that is what happened in the past when they tried to discourage people from trying to use the boardroom or auditorium in the main building. So I think the only option that we have, and that's my personal feeling, is the space weather building with the new auditorium, and that is, I think, what
it's too expensive though. That's the problem.
Yes, it is expensive, and it's not something that you can use on a monthly basis. So if you don't have the funds available, it becomes a problem. But also, if you want to have a meeting, a physical meeting in a place, we have to seriously consider a security, because if you go to the old Roman Catholic hall in the just next to HAC Committee,
yeah,
I think we must seriously consider not to use it in the evenings, because it is a soft target for a mugging, and that's basically an accident waiting to happen. And we're living in a completely new country, and you cannot be too security orientated nowadays, but particularly when people are older people, retired people who are vulnerable and exposed in the dark. That is not something that I will recommend to do. So if you consider a venue for a physical meeting, it must have security, it must be open, it must be lighted, and people must feel free and not being under threat to attend those kinds of places. So that's.
Can we look at it from another angle then? If we're going to use the Sansa venue for once or twice in the year, which of the speakers that you have engaged are nearby who could come to Amanus if they're not in Amanus, are willing to come to Amanus and do their presentation in the Sansa auditorium?
The only ones that I can think of is the professor from University of Cape Town.
Patrick Vogt.
Patrick Wout, and also the person living in Hermanus itself is Dr. Nell, Amore Nell. She's
Okay.
living in Hermanus. She's a SANSA employee. So those are the only two people I can read. And also Engelbrecht from, he's living in Pearly Beach or whatever. That Chris Engelbrecht. That's that I.
Okay, he's up for September.
Yes.
And then Patrick Wout is for June. And who's the other one?
Amore
Nell.
That is for
October.
October. Those are the only three people who are possible candidates for a meeting to be held physically in the auditorium.
Okay,
And also
maybe we must
Professor-
consider two then. I would say maybe Amore Nell. You say she's from SANSA.
SANSA, and also that other Professor Snow, the last one in November.
Where is he from?
He's also from SANSA.
The American.
I seriously think we should target them, one of them, one or two of them, you know, for let's talk about it next time again. But
Okay.
I think, can I just mention there, Derek, that the U3A AGM, they've been through the same kind of programs in terms of age, and but their membership, they had to reduce to 2 meetings a week to break even through the kind of hybrid time of COVID and the no meetings time. But now they're back to 3, and I must say any of the sessions they've held are quite a full hall there now in the Catholic hall there. They're running it over, you know, that it's looking very good. So the difference,
but they have it during the daytime.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm thinking is why are we so tied to the evening? Because that's the security issue. You know, it may also be an alternate. You know, I don't know how many of us could as easily meet. I'm just thinking of this meeting, but I mean, there are a lot of people who are quite flexible with daytime time as well.
I think it just used to be in the evening because after the meetings, when we used to have it at SANSA and so on, we used to also have telescopes along and want to look at stars after the meeting.
Sure.
That was one reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what other reason there was, except for people like me that were working during the day most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek, could I just make a suggestion? There was a meeting at, oh look, we don't live there yet, but I just noticed on the program that at Honoris Manor, they've got a very nice, a big TV, and they've got internet connection and YouTube, etc. And I just wondered if some of the retirement villages in the area wouldn't be amenable to a maybe early evening. Laura, I don't know if you know what happens at Golden Harvest, or it might be worth just investigating.
Good
I
idea.
don't think they have the IT capability at Golden Harvest.
I just noticed, I think it's the Geological Society or something. They were having a meeting at Undris Manor, but it was a morning meeting. It was after breakfast, I think.
Okay, so I mean, it definitely sounds like we must consider daytime meetings. So can we put that on the agenda for next time, Peter?
Okay.
So, you know, when Pierre's with us as well for the meeting, so that we can have or maybe we should circulate comments before the meeting. I don't know. Let's think about it.
I think also that meeting that Peter provides with SANSA is crucial because their kind of marketing, we went to that other presentation where they had that English couple of presenters, and it really was outstanding in terms of using the technology and the, you know, it was I think that would have been wasted hybrid. The speakers were very enthusiastic and actually created a really good environment. So the venue worked there. And if they've got an actual department, Tandile, and I think you spoke to them, Derek, at the AGM and talked about the possibility of moving some of our telescopes into an area there and so on. You know, it's not something we can.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Leanne sort of thinking of possibly giving us a building there to use as an observatory. And she
Yeah, I think we must
she
do it
wasn't
in
against it.
conjunction. Yeah, no, I think she is very good. I think the problem is the security aspect as well. They can't have people sort of willy-nilly just wandering in there. You know, it have
Yeah.
to be very tight. I think with
No,
this
well,
whole
then
sort
it's
of
just something we must sort out.
Yeah, so I
Um,
think they're amenable to it, and I think we need to work more as if we, you know, just piggyback like at the moment they let us know what interesting talkers they have. Maybe we can piggyback to a greater extent and make it automatic that when they have an interesting speaker, we kind of are the ones to commute that out to our members and so on.
By the way, that UK space meeting with the UK space guys was a hybrid meeting. It was transmitted live on YouTube simultaneously, and there is a YouTube recording of it available, or yeah, a YouTube video of it available, which I actually downloaded. I do have it saved.
Okay, did it come through quite well? Did you like
Yes,
the presentation?
yeah. I haven't looked at the whole thing yet. I've just looked at bits of it. So.
Ah.
But it looked quite. I looked at the last sort of 40% of it. It was.
Yeah.
I was quite actually fascinated by it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
There's another, I just want to make one point here. You know, we're spending a lot of time on thinking about physical meetings, but I was quite frankly, okay, it's only one example, but I was a bit disappointed that we only got 18 attendees at the AGM for a physical meeting that everybody's been asking for so long and all that sort of thing, and coffee and biscuits and so on. I thought 18 was a little bit disappointing and not really much more than we would get at any normal monthly meeting on Zoom.
Yeah, I think people don't always want to admit it, but I think they're quite happy. I mean, quite a few people told Mick that, oh, if it's going to be a hybrid meeting, then they'd rather watch the Zoom link. And they were, I don't know, there was some misunderstanding there. I think one of us sent out
People
an
just
email
don't like going out,
Zoom, and
particularly
people said, no,
in
they'd rather go attend the Zoom. I mean, it
People
saves
don't like going
petrol.
out at night in winter.
It saves petrol. It's all kinds of advantages. It's just more convenient sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe we must try one more physical meeting to, you know, because this was the AGM. Normally people are automatically sort of turned off a bit by an AGM meeting, and it always had poor attendance in the when we only had physical meetings anyway in the past. So it was a
If
tough
we do
one.
both hybrid, that's
it's a
fine.
tough one as a test, I think. So I think we should give it one more chance.
Yeah.
But we must look at all these other aspects. What about daytime meetings and all these other things? And what about other venues and so on? And as Mick says, if U3A are having highly sort of well attended meetings 3 times a week or whatever. So let's look at other possibilities. All right, I think we've said enough for the moment on that subject. What about Lee Berger?
Okay, well, I did try. In fact, I've sent 2 messages through to him, and I haven't had a reply to either of them from Lee. I think maybe I must try and get hold of, I wanted to get hold of Terry Timpson again and ask him if maybe he could try. But until just sort of late in February, Terry hadn't renewed his membership, so I wasn't too happy to try that. But anyway, now he's a member again. I should probably get back to Terry and ask and be a bit of a pain to him and just ask him, could he help?
Yeah, it can't do any harm to ask to see what he says. Otherwise, I'll try. But you try him first. He knows.
I was going to say maybe somebody with a bit of a higher profile than myself.
Maybe Lee Berger was in a cave at the time when you were phoning him.
Yeah. I know he wants to come here and play golf.
Yeah. So see what Terry can get right. Okay. Otherwise, we just play one of his videos where he goes through all his latest findings.
Yeah.
There are a couple on YouTube. Okay. Anything else on meetings? Can we go on to communication? So newsletter, it seems to be very nicely organized now. It seems to get all the niggles are sorted out with formattings and stuff, and it gets done chuff chop first time, everything right. Thanks very much to Peter and Peter, mainly, who do most of the work there. And thanks for the sky maps, the excellent sky maps, which Peter thinks nobody looks at, but everybody does, I'm sure. Thanks very much, Peter.
Okay, and I was actually quite pleased that I did get a couple of responses to my tear-laden letter with the last one, and I'm grateful to people like Elaine and so on who did actually respond very kindly. So yeah, it's going okay.
Yeah, we know it's a hell of a lot of work, and we do appreciate it, Peter.
It's good, thank you.
It's excellent production you did. All right. Anything under AOB then? You've got a comment here, Peter, addendum to minutes.
Yes,
I
I just wanted to, there was a comment from Pierre that what he had said was not included in the minutes. And now maybe I've got the wrong sort of attitude here, but I feel that the minutes should reflect what was actually discussed in the meeting concerned. And so that's why I decided to put in an addendum. In fact, I think I put in 2 addenda, I think the correct plural is, to the last minutes, which included what Pierre said. And I think there was something I said which had to be added, I felt should be added in because of the time that I was away, that I lost communication. So I'm just wondering, is it a normal thing to put an addendum to a set of minutes?
Okay, no, not in the last minutes. I don't see an addendum here in the minutes.
No, it was attached. There's another attachment.
Oh, okay. No, make it part of the minutes, because if it's something that somebody sends in that can't be present at the meeting, then I think it should be
Well,
minutes.
Pierre sent in something after the meeting, and then
After the
he
meeting.
mentioned something about it wasn't, he didn't see it mentioned in the minutes.
Okay. All right, I think just add it in. I mean, there's no harm in having, all the extra information in.
You know, it's
I
quite
think you have
possible
to
Pierre
be,
might send something else in for this one because he's not here.
Yeah.
Now, what do I do with that? I don't think I should.
Yeah, just add it in and just have a sort of heading on top. This was not mentioned, not discussed during the meeting, but was sent in. Just
Okay.
describe what it is.
Okay.
Add it in at the end of the minute. All right. Anybody going away on holiday? Mauritius, Antarctic.
I've got people here on cosmology. I won't be at we've got visitors at that time next week.
All right.
And just
You can always invite them to attend the cosmology.
hybridly.
Yeah.
I think just in terms of the minutes as well, one doesn't want to too fully minute everything, because some of our surgeon members might not like being referred to as vets. So you've got to,
Okay. Peter, please leave out the snide comments and so on. Use your discretion. Okay. All right. Anybody got anything else, by the way, under any other business, actually, before I go away from?
Oh, yes, there is one other thing. Well, I didn't hear a proposer and seconder for the treasurer's report. Did we get that?
Actually, I think you're quite right. I don't think we did have that. So can we get a proposer, please, for treasurer's report? Am I
I'm
allowed
happy
to propose?
Nick Finn.
Mick Finn proposing. Okay. Second.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks, Peter.
Sorry, who was the proposer?
So the proposer was Mick Finn.
Mick, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second was Peter Kotzer.
And second to Peter Kotzer. That's fine. Thank you.
Thanks for sorting that one out, Peter.
Really?
All right.
Oh, and there was one other thing. Sorry, I think we
Yes.
also missed earlier on. I've got under projects here. I'm just wondering, is the term projects correct for something which has actually been completed, like the GPAID? Is it still a project,
Solar
or
system
should
model.
it go to outreach? I mean, the SS model, for example, should that not be a subsection of outreach?
Well, I mean, SS model needs some maintenance and stuff, so maybe maybe retitle it and call it project maintenance and have that as
Okay.
its own
Project maintenance. Yeah, that
thing. I
sounds
mean, Mick can talk about the solar system model under his outreach as well, as far as it affects outreach.
okay. I'll change projects maintenance. So that'll be fine. Okay.
Thanks, Peter. Good idea. All right, and I think then we are done. Nobody else got anything else under AOB, or you're all hungry to go for supper? All right. Next HACC meeting then Thursday, 13th of April. Everybody okay with Thursday still?
That's fine with me.
All right, then thank you very much to everybody for attending, and thank you for all your contributions, especially the important people like Laura and Mick. And I think speakers are also very important, but let's just say we're all important. Okay, thanks very much for attending, and I'll say good evening. Any final comments before we switch off?
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Derek, for organizing.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice.
Night,
Enjoy the
everyone.
rest of your evening. Thanks. Bye. I'm gonna
Thank you.
switch off now.
Thanks, Derek. Right. Bye-bye then.
Thanks, Helen.